Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Birdwell, I have a question about the conversation you had earlier with Senator Hinojosa. You mentioned checkpoints within 30 miles of the border.
Right.
Those checkpoints, you said they were for safety and what kind of checks?
Safety and contraband of the equipment that we're talking about is X-ray type of equipment that can look at those vehicles. The reason it's within 30 miles is because 30 miles from the federal port of entry gives you various avenues of what's called mobility corridors. So like in Laredo, there's various places where the highways split out from Laredo, same thing in Del Rio, same thing, and though I'm not as familiar with your part of the state, that way it allows the DPS to put them on the movement corridors to be able to do random checks as people are, once they've crossed through the port of entry, and then begin their journey wherever they're going to head in the United States. That 30-mile radius gives the DPS a freedom of maneuver to make random inspections of those vehicles to make sure that there's not either human cargo, illicit drug cargo, and the like.
And I know you visited the border multiple times on different occasions in different areas, and so I'm sure you're aware that Border Patrol already has checkpoints within 25 to 75 miles of the southern border.
That's correct.
At each of those mobility check corridors.
Right. Theirs are more static. The DPSs, I expect, will be more mobile. And I've been through them. Went through one, Del Rio. I've been through them in various places over the last interim.
So we already have those checkpoints along all those mobility corridors, but we're adding a second one.
No, what we're going to do is with some of the new technology that we have at 5 of the international points of entry, within 30 miles of that international port of entry, put some of this new technology to make that X-ray technology. That's the best way I can describe it, because I'm not sure exactly how it works, because I'm not the engineer that makes it work. But that way, within that 30-mile radius of 5 of the 29, we'll have that technology to be a deterrent to those that would move either humans, smuggling, methamphetamine, or any other drugs or anything else that's illegal to bring in the United States. Because even at the international checkpoints, Border Patrol doesn't check every vehicle.
They do at every vehicle at those checkpoints within the 25 to 75 mile radius. They stop every vehicle and check them with dogs and ask each of the passengers and the driver questions about their status and where they're going.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to ask you was the safety portion of that checkpoint. Recently, we passed legislation from this body that got rid of vehicle inspections of personal vehicles because we deemed them unnecessary and inconvenient. And it seems like we are bringing back those vehicle safety inspections, but without regard to the inconvenience or the necessity of safety inspections to those that live within 30 miles of the border. Is that accurate?
That bill may have passed the Senate, but I don't know that the governor is going to sign it, so I can't. We just voted it, yesterday, I think. So
it passed the House as well.
Okay. So I assume the governor may sign it, but it's potentially safety inspections, particularly for commercial vehicles, because those have not gone away. If the governor signs that, it would be the standard annual safety inspection of Texas residents' vehicles. But it's very possible you could have international vehicles, personal vehicles that are Mexican plated or Guatemalan or whatever that may be coming through that would certainly be subject to those inspections.
But Texas plates as well.
Say that again?
But Texas drivers and Texas vehicles as well.
If there is probable cause to believe that that there's a reason to inspect that vehicle, then that certainly could happen. Yes, ma'am.
I thought they were going to be stopping every vehicle without regard.
No, I do not believe we're stopping every vehicle with the DPS. It's the ability to determine with that technology who needs to be stopped and who does not.
And how much property or space would this technology take up? Because as you're aware, with some of these Border Patrol checkpoints that are within 75 miles of the southern border, sometimes they can be 10 lanes long, wide, like the one in McAllen, or going through Heavenville, it's a trailer on the side of the road, and you kind of pull over and stop and see that. Right. Are we taking up the entire road, or is it going to be off to the side of the road?
I think it's indeterminate at this point because the DPS has to acquire that technology, test it, and then establish those checkpoints.
And I imagine they'd also have to require the property along the road, because a lot of times that's private property, and that's what happens with Border Patrol. They end up having to either buy the property or use eminent domain to be able to have the property to expand or have those checkpoints.
DPS can operate inside the right-of-ways and would not require eminent domain, in my belief.
Unless the property that they need is larger than the eminent domain that they have access to on that roadway where they plan to establish this checkpoint.
DPS will be able to do a geographic reconnaissance of where the best places are to put the technology based upon right-of-ways, where they think they need them, and the like. So again, the bill does not authorize eminent domain for the DPS.
So, but they'd be able to purchase the property if they deemed a certain location is best, and they need to purchase the property to do that.
I don't believe so. We're talking everything being inside the right-of-ways.
Okay, but we don't know how big the property that they need for these checkpoints.
That's indeterminate until DPS makes the actual acquisitions of the technology.
Got it. And then is this system, the entire bill, is this modeled after another state, or do other states do similar things like what you're proposing here?
When you say a border force, or
the entire bill, this type of program?
Not to my knowledge. You know, we've received officers from Florida and Idaho and such that are helping backfill some of the personnel needs that we've needed along the border, but that's not the same as doing this type of a program. So I've not studied other states that are, you know, we're reacting to and responding to Texas's needs. So that's why I think this is mostly pretty new.
Got it. So we'd be the first state to ever do something like this, and we don't have anyone to model after or use as an example.
That is my belief, but I can't affirm it because I've not checked New Mexico, Arizona, or California.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for answering my questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.